Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SportsPoint. My name is Frankie Breit. Thanks so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, I'm joined by our awesome co-host, Brody Kupsky, Liam Statz, two professionals in their own right, and we've got a lot to talk about today. It's been another crazy week in sports, but nothing more important than last week's bet. Liam, what did you do to me, man?
Well, we did make the bet that if the Brewers won, keyword there is won the game to clinch the NL Central, I would have to go through a folding table. And if they didn't win the game to clinch the NL Central, Frankie was going to have to shave his mustache. And as you can see, I'm not third table, and he doesn't have a mustache.
The technicalities of the bet bit me in the butt. Because the Brewers lost the game to clinch the NL Central. Congratulations to the Brewers on that front. But yeah, I did recently shave my mustache, so please enjoy this short clip, and we'll talk about it here in a moment. All right, so I'm aware that I lost the bet, and no fault of my own. Well, actually, it is. The technicalities of it, obviously, were not in favor of me. I said if the Brewers lost, I'd shave. I was technically meaning that if they didn't make the playoffs, I'd shave. But per my words, I said if they lose that game. So, Liam, congratulations on your bet win. Happy you don't have to go through a table. It's got to go away. So, without further ado, here we go. And here it is. Here's the final result. I hope you're happy, Liam. This is my face, man. This is my face. Yeah, guys, that was my process.
It looks wrong.
It
looks wrong.
It really does. I'm sorry for even making
You
the
did
bet.
this to me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
you
made me
actually
this
did
way.
do it
You
to
had
him.
any time to, come up with the other thing at the other side of the bet. You put that on me.
I also say that when I came up with the bet unwarranted, so it's my own fault.
Fair.
But yeah, anyway.
You were so confident they were going to win that game.
I'm a very optimistic person, especially when it comes to Wisconsin sports. But Wisconsin sports, we've got a lot of major storylines to talk about today, and one no bigger than the Bucks trading for Damian Lillard. Boys,
It's
Came
huge.
out of left field.
huge.
I mean, this trade is, on paper, it may look like we gave up a lot just to get one player, but this one player could absolutely change the franchise. If
Dynasty time.
if he wants to play for us, that's the biggest thing. If he has the mentality that he wants to win a ring with us, we're winning a ring then. But
And like you said, looks like they gave up a lot, notably Drew Holiday. Grayson Allen's out of here too. See ya, buddy.
I don't think a lot of people are
No, exactly. But Drew Holiday it hurts.
It really does.
Keaton Waala, our tech producer in the booth, loves that guy.
Shedding a tear right now.
He is. I think I can see it. Loves that guy. And, he's got the jersey. He's got a shirt. And I think Holiday came out with a statement like a couple days before the trade saying he doesn't want to play anywhere else.
Oh,
well,
And that makes you think if he knew the trade was going to happen, so he said, all right, I'll get a statement out there and I'll just try to prevent this from happening. Don't know, but something to think about.
now Drew Holiday is on the Celtics.
Boom.
So, yeah.
Not his fault.
not
But
really.
you hate to see it.
But just looking at the trade, Portland got, Drew Holiday before they traded him. DeAndre Ayton from the Suns, Tumani Kamara from the Suns.
right. It was a three-way trade, wasn't it?
Yep.
Milwaukee's first-round pick in 2029 and just a couple pick swaps between 2028 and 2030. In the Suns, now, the Suns actually got a lot of players out of this. Was Jusuf Nurkic, the former Trailblazer center, Grayson Allen from the Bucks, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. So kind of a big trade, huge for the Bucks. Obviously, you would love to get a lot more with it, but Damian Lillard already brings a lot to the table.
I'd still argue it was a fleece, to be honest.
Yeah,
I would.
we could be going in with like the Los Angeles Rams, identity. Who cares about draft picks? Just go get the guy.
And see you later picks.
Yeah. But starting lineup wise, you look at Middleton, Giannis, Lillard, Brook Lopez. Who's that fifth guy?
Like Bobby Portis.
You think Bobby Portis comes in?
Bobby Portis is kind of underrated, I feel like. a guy like maybe Pat Connaughton comes off the bench, or maybe you look at the young guys like Marshawn Beauchamp.
I wouldn't say Pat Connaughton. He's kind of been. I wouldn't say he's been like the best player, but he's been solid. Like he's been very consistent.
My brother absolutely loves Pat Connaughton.
Really?
So he would love to see Pat Connaughton start.
Keaton's in my ear. He wants AJ Green on the team full time.
Hey, I'm not totally against that either. I love myself some AJ Green, but
Crowder's on the team, so I mean, there's options.
There's options.
But the point is that team's going to be scary, and hopefully they can get another ring here soon. I want to continue on with some other storylines. We got a lot to talk about today. And I think this might just be a new segment on the show, and that's just making fun of the Chicago Bears.
I mean, they just do it to themselves. So.
What happened?
I mean, how do you blow a lead like that?
I'll tell you how. Ready? You ready for this?
All right, here we go.
It's because the Bears suck.
Dude.
No, stop talking. That's it. Show's over.
There you go. That's all
I believe it was 21-7 at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
They score another touchdown to go up 28-7, then give up another touchdown to go 24-14. But they gave up that lead in the fourth quarter alone.
17 unanswered points.
17 unanswered points. I believe Justin Fields started the game 16 for 16. Throughout the entire game, threw 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards. He proved to some that Justin Fields is not the problem in Chicago.
Actually, it was over 300 yards.
Over 300 yards. Thank you, sir.
So that's kind of starting to climb a little bit.
He looks good, and I obviously didn't have the game in this area, but I saw all the live stats, and I was like, okay, the man's cooking right now. But also, they lose Chase Claypool, who had a falling out with the coaching staff and was asked to stay home. What?
They basically redshirted him.
Who saw that coming?
What a shocker.
They basically redshirted him?
Yeah, and they're looking to trade Chase Claypool before the deadline, and I don't know who's going to want him. The guy is a diva.
I was going to say a lot of attitude issues, and let's just say they gave up a first-round pick for him pretty much. So
Nice job, Bears. Second overall pick. So great job, Bears. They're 0-4. And I saw a quick fact. They traded with the Panthers last year for DJ Moore, and in that they trading away the first overall pick, got the Panthers' first-round pick next year. They're also 0-4. So the Bears right now, if the season ended today, had the first overall and second overall pick in the draft next year.
They'd still find a way to mess it up.
They will. I mean, that's just who they are.
It just, I mean, credit to them. They're making, savvy moves to get, first-round picks, but you still got to hit on those first-round picks.
And if you're a Bears fan listening to me right now, don't say anything about the Packers. We have 2 wins. You have none. And that's the way it's always going to be. I know the Packers got their own struggles. We'll get into that. But I just love making fun of the Bears and then using, bear down in the posts we make. No offense, but it's just so much fun.
No, you know what they'd probably do with that, if they still had those first and second round picks, they'd probably draft Jay Cutler first overall again.
You might as well go get him.
You might need him. You might need him.
The Broncos come back, win that game 31-28. They're 1-3. First win of the Sean Payton era over there. Let's ride.
Broncos country.
Broncos country. Good for you, Russell Wilson. Moving on, Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers is back at his first Jets game since his Achilles injury. Guess who else was there? Taylor Swift.
Dude, Taylor Swift was there? No
She
way.
now owns the NFL.
Oh, my.
Tom Grassi had his live stream, as he always does, and he had a Taylor Swift and Aaron Rodgers counter.
11 to 8.
They show 11-8. That's exactly the score.
Taylor Swift is on screen more than Aaron Rodgers.
More than Aaron Rodgers.
It's just...
It is what it is.
Well, that kind of... So I think we're not fully prepared for the fallout of the amount of Swifties that
the takeover, more or less.
Well, because now the Chiefs all of a sudden have 300 million more fans.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not good. You can't let the Chiefs be the most popular team. It won't end well. It'll go right to their heads. You don't understand what you're doing.
You know who their biggest fan is? The NFL referees.
Accurate.
Are we watching the same game that the refs are? Look at Liam and Brody right now. That's practically what's his name? Donovan Smith, their left tackle, was doing to Jermaine Johnson on the final play.
For like 10 seconds.
Yes,
like
10 seconds of just holding him like this. No call. Patrick Mahomes runs for the first down, and there was a flag on the Jets for practically nothing. And on the same drive, they call holding Sauce Gardner on Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Again, literally no hold.
It was pretty clean, and Robert Saleh did not like it. I mean,
Did not hold back.
He was livid, and I don't blame him.
I don't either.
I don't either. Terrible.
I mean, Zach Wilson showed up on Sunday Night Football for that team who's been needing him to be somebody. And Joe Namath, the legendary Jets quarterback, turned on him this week. Or turned on him last week. I'm not sure. And that's a team that's headed towards being a divided locker room. And I believe Zach Wilson showed that they don't need to be. And if they stick together this season, who knows what can happen.
And I almost feel bad for him because he kind of blamed on himself for fumbling the ball and costing the game, but it really wasn't his fault.
They got a live shot, and I read his lips. It was, yeah, that's on me, man. He took the blame.
Like, that's the problem. Like, physically speaking, I know people like to go, oh, it was the penalties that killed. Like, it was on the penalties. It's not your fault. It was. This time it was on the penalties. Mm-hmm. It was not their fault whatsoever. You can't tell me a man who grips one hand of the jersey, grips another hand of the jersey, holds a dude in place, and walks him to the sideline.
Stands there.
Yeah. It goes, that's not hold. Like, you can't tell me that you're not going to throw a flag on that.
Holding it there. Jermaine Johnson's trying to fight out. Like, he's clearly pulling it this way and that.
You can see his shoulder pad getting
literally
up.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. How do you miss that?
There's a moment where he's standing there. Donovan Smith is standing there, and then Jermaine Johnson starts punching him in the face, and that's when he starts pushing. And it's that's what it took for you to wake up and realize, oh yeah, I got to fight this guy. No, you're standing there not even playing the game. So very surprised at that call. Great game for Zach Wilson, and I also saw another post about Aaron Rodgers' recovery thus far. I mean, he's rehabbing 5 hours a day, and his goal remains to come back this season. And he's a few weeks out of the injury, on crutches, walking without a boot. The man has a shoe on. If you saw the video of how he's walking, you'd be like, he has a sprained ankle. Most people at this time in that through that injury it's still in a walking boot, hardly walking. So maybe he's on a little ayahuasca. I don't know.
What is this?
He's on some plant medicine.
Right, and honestly, if Zach Wilson keeps playing like he did in that Sunday night game, they could maybe make the playoffs if you just play like that every single week.
If they stay like that.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves there. It is the Jets are talking about.
I'm a Jets fan this season, and I'm not afraid to say it.
All right.
Stunned silence in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely stunned silence. Are you kidding me? Really?
Only because of the story. Knowing so many Packers are there, and I want to see those guys successful.
Yeah,
so that's
the Green Bay Jets.
Exactly, Green Bay Jets. That's one of my interests of why I like that team. But the story of Zach Wilson doubles that, and how he's playing, knowing the memes that surround him, being a mom.
Don't finish that sentence.
Whatever. But and then Aaron, Rodgers going down and being that mentor figure. It is such a fun story, and I'm here for it in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not against that.
Thank you, boys. Moving on, we've got some. This is the down part of the show. This is where we talk about our sadness throughout the week, because we were not hit with one but two embarrassing losses as fans of two different sports teams. So let's rip the Band-Aid off and jump right into it. Your Stevens Point Pointers have suffered a loss to Eau Claire, 17-24 in a second half collapse, and dropped to 1-3 on the year.
You'll be finding the second half team on a milk carton, because where was it? I mean, wow. It was just
holy.
It's just how do you blow it after that great first half? And I'm and after the first half, I'm not, I love this team. I love that I can cheer on a team like the Pointers football team. Mm-hmm. But when you play really well in the first half and then absolutely go flat in the second half,
no points.
It's like you guys didn't adjust to anything.
Right.
What did you adjust to? Maybe a few different plays here and there. And granted, a lot of good plays were ran by the offense. I will give credit to that. But
to that point is there was a chance for them to be able to get another first down. All right, so the previous play, they were, fourth and 3, basically?
Oh, this is what I want to talk about.
They were 4th and 3, right? They run 2 linebackers onto the field. And
Two linemen, defensive linemen.
Two defensive linemen onto the field. They get the first down, and it's been proven that play worked. They couldn't stop it.
They've run it 4 times.
I was going to say 2 or 3 times before that they ran it, and then it worked.
And then they come up to the same situation, except they have less yards to get there.
And they gained 10 yards since the last time.
Yes. And now we're going to punt.
Yeah, so we're talking about this very specifically because all 3 of us were there at the game in the booth. Brody and I were on commentary. Liam was on camera. Great camera work.
Yes.
And they had been running Dakota Caravo and Tyreek Sims onto the field in a heavy set on offense for 4th down and short, and picking up the first down run with those 2 lead blocking numerous times in the game.
Every single time I think they
Every
tried
single
it.
time they got it.
They scored a touchdown with it.
They scored a touchdown on it, Bryson Cashin. And they were about their own 35, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, I'm not sure. They run it with that play, get the first down. 10 yards later from their 45, they've got more space to work with. 4th and 2, same scenario, they punt, just like you said. And I think that's one of the reasons why this team didn't close out that game. The lack of aggressiveness in their play calling kind of caused that collapse. And I mean, also the lack of adjustments is a huge problem. But you're looking at a team who gave up 364 yards in the passing game against a team who normally does give up about that many yards. But Jake Lier, nonetheless, had 238 yards and a touchdown. Unfortunately, 3 interceptions. Bryson Cashin was a huge highlight in this game. 19 attempts for 80 yards rushing and a touchdown. And then Myles Gallagher, as per usual, leading the team in receiving. He went down with an injury a couple times in that game. Hopefully he's doing all right this week. Matt Getchin came in next, 3 receptions, 49 yards. And then, of course, Bryson Cashin's on that list, too, with 31 yards as well receiving. So another 100-yard game for Bryson Cashin. Isaac Garside for the Blue Golds, 139 yards receiving, was carving up the Pointers defense.
He had himself a game.
He did. He had a great game. And then defensively, we broke down. You know, in the first half, we were leading 17-7, and the defense was playing phenomenal, bringing that slot blitz, getting a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, and the secondary overall was just lights out, lockdown quarterbacks in the red zone. They must have had 4 or 5 pass breakups on one drive. So it's really unfortunate to see that this is the outcome of that game. You know, strong start, bad play calling later on, and then we got to talk about this just because it happened. Jeremy Kobe, unfortunately, had a drop pass.
And it's probably the most heartbreaking drop pass I've ever seen in my entire life.
It is, and we were watching the play. Design roll out to the left. At this point, the Pointers are down 24-17. And this play call worked to perfection. Had Jeremy Kobe down the left sideline wide open, would have been a 75-yard touchdown if he hauls that in, stays on his feet, doesn't get caught up. Goes through his hands, and that's one where it's just like you feel bad for the dude because 9 times out of 10 he's catching that ball.
I mean, he had it, and he tried turning up the field really quick and just thought before he caught. I mean,
and again, that's not the sole reason why they lost.
Oh no, not at all.
It's a team effort, and at that point in that game, if you're going to blame it on that, there were other things that led to that point for the game.
They shouldn't even had to have relied on that to win the game.
Right.
That shouldn't have been the thing.
He still had chance at redemption. This game ended controversially. They somehow got the ball back with 30 seconds and marched down the field to about the 30-yard line, have a shot at the end zone. Over to everybody. Jeremy Kobe jumps up. It's in his hands, and I'm shouting it's a touchdown because I was like, oh, my God, he's got this ball. Comes down out of bounds. And it was a tough call. It was really close. They reviewed the footage. I believe he did come down out of bounds, but he did catch the ball. And the referee called him down, saw it on the broadcast. Liam, they instantly left the field.
Instant. It was all right, he's out. I think they officially on the rule called it a bobble, which was incorrect. His foot might have come down at time, but they called it a bobble, which that was the incorrect call.
Yeah.
They don't stick around to discuss it with either side or the coaches. They all convene in their weird amalgamation blob and then run right off the field.
Dipped.
They were just out of there.
Literally did not did not care to stick around. They did not want to have to explain themselves. Just were like, yep, that's the call. See everybody. Good night. And then they left the field. And to me, that's like, okay, well, your people are probably going to want to know why.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes it seem like you just made a bad call, and now you kind of want to run away from what you just did. And I mean, was it the right call? We'll never know. We're D3. We'll never see replays ever in our game. It'll never happen. So I physically will never know whether or not that's the right call. But to me, like, them running off the field like that's iffy, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it was tough to watch. Brody and I were close to tears probably up there.
I was just like, what happened? I mean, what happened to this team in the first half compared to the second half? It's frustrating because it's like, you know, they play better than that, but then all of a sudden they just come out flat and don't adjust anything. And oh man, I really thought it was going to be the chance to win a WIAC game for the first time since me and Liam have been here. And
going on 3 years now.
3 years, and I'm sorry to put the cherry on top, but this Pointers ranked bottom of the WIAC. As things stand right now.
No, dude, really?
I couldn't.
You guys are so used to hearing that, but this is the first time I've ever experienced it. So
well, get used to it, buddy.
I'm still cheering.
Welcome to Pointers football, baby.
Just so you know, it's going to get a lot painful from this point forward.
But, I mean, still shout out to the players. You know they're giving it their all out there, so we do appreciate that. But looking forward to next week, coming up an away game against Platteville, a team that is 2-2, gives up a lot of passing yards, does limit the run. Who'd they play last week, Brody?
They played River Falls.
River Falls, who will play at homecoming.
Yep.
But they did drop that game, I believe.
27-16, they lost to River Falls, who River Falls is pretty good, I would say. So it's a close game between the two.
Sure. Yep. And, that team's 2-2 or 1-3, a game that you'd love to see the Pointers pick up on the road. You never know, so you're going to have to go look at some keys to victory here, and mine simply being is going to be staying aggressive start to finish, whistle to whistle, complete the play every single drive, and as a coaching staff, stay on top of things. Don't be afraid. Things have been working all game, and they showed guts all the game last week until that moment. So if they can stick with that mentality throughout the entire run of the game, I think they got a good chance of winning this one.
I would say Bryson Cashin is pretty much your lead guy. You know, you can look at Jake Lear. He's been a stud. You can look at the defense. They've been solid. You know, guys like Miles Gallagher have been catching the ball really well. And, kind of got those other guys that are, helping out like Mac Edchin. But Bryson Cashin's pretty much been your team. You know, he runs the Wildcat. They showed the Wildcat a lot last week, which was nice. It worked pretty effectively for the most part until the second half. They kind of slowed down. But he's also your receiving guy, your receiving running back who can catch the ball, get a few yards out of it. He can also return kicks, punts. I mean, if you need him to go out on defense, I'm sure he would. If you need him to be the quarterback, he probably would. He will throw the ball, I'm sure. So Bryson Cashin's kind of your guy to lead your team to victory. So if they utilize him well enough, I would say they could win this game.
Yeah, and they had guys playing both ways last week, so why not put Bryson Cashin on?
You may as well.
You never know. Liam, you got one for us.
Receivers got to be the spark. I think this was the first game that they've had this year that they were actually going for long passes.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
They were getting really good yardage after the catch, and I'm sitting there going, wow, our receiving core is actually kind of good at this. And for this game, just need to see more of it. You know, there were a lot of things that, like we said, they probably should have done differently, but they still looked great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the first time in a while I can say that. So I'm really hoping that this is the start of something up. They probably come back next game and continue it. I really hope they continue it.
And they're going up against a team, back-to-back teams who give up over 300 yards against the pass nearly every game. And I feel like the Pointers definitely would have had that minus a drop, that, you definitely have that kind of yardage. So another chance for them to be that spark. Great point there. Looking forward to it. Good luck, Pointers against Platteville. We can't wait to see it play. All right, boys. Let's get on to the next one. This one
hurts.
This one hurt, but since we did a live broadcast of the game, I was sitting right here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and watched along. Brody was there with his brother. That was awesome, and kept the chat moving, so that was a ton of fun. And we might do another broadcast this coming Monday as the Packers take on the Raiders. We'll get into that. Not sure if that's a for sure thing yet, but we'll let you know via our Instagram and other outlets. But yeah, Packers drop an embarrassing loss to the Lions, 20-34. And now this one was tough. We'll take a look at some stats here. Jordan Love, 23 of 36, 246 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. One pick, not really his fault. The other one was a miscommunication. Romeo Doubs dips out to the corner of the end zone, was wide open, but Love already released the football. Aaron Jones, this stat boils my blood.
Really grinds my gears.
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
it does.
It does.
5 attempts for 18 yards.
They just didn't give it to him.
They didn't give the ball hardly to Aaron Jones. They didn't run the ball whatsoever. And every time they went out on the offensive side of the ball, I saw A.J. Dillon out there. And I'm like, what is A.J. Dillon providing to this team right
He
now?
only had 5 carries.
For 11 yards.
Yeah.
Or less.
For less. And granted, the offensive line had a terrible, no good, very bad day. And that's putting it kindly. Luke Butkus came out, the offensive line coach came out this week and said, those guys were warriors. They battled hard. Yeah, I'm sure they did,
buddy.
but how about we acknowledge that things were not up to par?
you can't just pretend everything's fine. While
No,
you're
they gave up
actively standing.
5 sacks.
Yeah.
Gave
well,
up
you're-
5 sacks.
You can't pretend everything's fine while you're standing on a ship with a lot of holes in it, which
Exactly.
is precisely what that O-line had.
Exactly. And Jordan Love, I saw a stat on dropbacks that he was pressured. He had a QBR that was very low, hardly any yards, and a pick. And when he wasn't under pressure, over 200 yards and some touchdowns. And it's like, if you keep this guy on his feet, if you keep him protected, he's going to go out there and play all-pro football. He's shown that through 4 weeks, that he can be that guy. Give him the man a chance. Obviously, we don't have everybody out there on the starting offensive line, which we'll get to. But, man, that made you mad. Another thing that's going to make me mad, I'm going to get to. Romeo Doubs, highlight, not mad about this one. 9 receptions, 95 yards. That guy's got toe drag swag. He's got some of the best hands I've seen on this team since Devontae Adams. Jaden Reed, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 55 yards. Samori Toure had a great catch for 35 yards. Luke Musgrave goes down with a concussion, so not many stats on that end. Defense gave up so many yards, I don't even want to talk about them. But key inactives, David Bakhtiari, that's a really tough one. Headed to IR for, we think, the year after re-injuring his knee. Had a surgery last week. We think there's another surgery coming up. Elton Jenkins not starting the left side. Jair Alexander still out with a back injury. And Devondre Campbell out with an ankle. So, yeah, ugly game overall. And what makes me so mad is the fact that this was another gold package game. So we have Milwaukee fans coming up to Green Bay. So you thought. No, they sold all their tickets to Lions fans. And
It was blue.
The stadium was blue.
It was blue. And to me, that hurts more than the loss.
Exactly.
That's supposed to be Lambeau Field. That's
That
the
is
frozen
hollowed
tundra.
Lambeau Field ground that there was an audible "Let's Go Lions" chant through more than half of that game.
And that's awful to hear. That was genuinely heartbreaking. Like, I worked most of that night, so I caught what I could. My phone huddled in a corner, basically.
You love those nights, right?
Yeah.
But through the phone speakers, it's just "Let's go Lions," and I'm sitting there going, "This is not Lambeau Field. This isn't. It's awful. That was just heartbreaking."
Yeah, it wasn't a da 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 go Pat go. No, it wasn't. It was just a sea of blue, and for me, blue is my favorite color. But in this term, it's not a good look for Packers fans to not show up. And I get it. It's a tough season. It's going to be a tough few seasons. But why wouldn't you just show up to a Thursday night game in Lambeau, against a division rival? Obviously, the Lions. I mean, credit to the Lions. They're playing really good, but you still got to show up.
Liam said that the Lions were going to run the North, and he's right so far. But back to blue. Peep the blue. Got the Hawaiian shirt on today. Both of you guys in Hawaiian shirts. They came in, interrogated me. I said, "I'm the Sun today."
Yep.
I'm the Sun. They're the Hawaiian. Yeah, we're good.
It is very.
I got
warm.
the memo this week.
It is very warm out, so
It is. It's 80 degrees in October, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm clinging on to what is left of summer.
Don't you
Please
just
do.
love that Wisconsin weather?
You gotta love it. We're gonna get into some optimistic views here, but I do want to highlight my play of the game. And that would be one certain Packers fan pouring a beer on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Did either of you see that?
No.
I did actually. After he scored his touchdown, he's celebrating with Lions fans. All of a sudden, you see a Packers fan coming in the background.
He went up for a Lambeau leap to Lions fans.
Can't do that. Not
obviously, the Packers fans shove them out of the Lambeau leap is one of the coolest things, but pouring a beer on another player, that was awesome.
That's
Shout
awful.
out.
What do you mean? That's
I mean,
terrible.
it's awful, but don't do the Lambeau leap if you're not on the Packers.
That's true. That's true. But holy jeez.
Yeah, no, I and vice versa. After the game, Amon-Ra came to that same corner. I'm not sure if it was the fan, but there was a fan who was booing him. He blew him a kiss.
Oh, okay.
And I was all right, Amon-Ra, nice comeback, but I don't need that over here.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you very soon.
See you very soon.
Yeah.
Some optimistics. I did mention optimism here for this game, and we mentioned Love's QBR. We're not under pressure, and the young receivers continuing to show out. And we got marginally more healthy. Christian Watson and Aaron Jones came back.
Watson
Aaron
with the
Jones hardly
touchdown.
came back. Watson did have a touchdown. That was awesome. That drive made my night, regardless of the loss. But
yeah, but everything we giveth, he taketh away.
Yeah,
Musgrave goes down with a concussion. So, yeah, we got 2 people back. Bam, Musgrave's out. Well,
lost.
crud.
Yeah. It was a fun game, everybody. We do have a long week, though. So on this long week off, we have 10 days off, and then we have Monday Night Football against the Raiders, which then goes into another bye, so 14 days off. So that's 24 days and 1 game where they get to get healthy and then play 1 game and get healthy again. What concerns you about the Packers at this point in the season, my friends?
I would say just the defense is kind of inconsistent. They played real well against the Bears. They looked really solid. I'm like, this is a different defense. And then they proceed to lose against the Falcons in the fourth quarter, looked terrible against the Saints until getting bailed out in the fourth quarter. And then this game. Why say you're going to load up in the offseason? You always draft defensively, don't really go offensively in the first round, and then proceed to just completely fail when you load up every single offseason.
Yeah, and that blame's got to fall somewhat on Joe Barry. I know he gets a lot of the flack for what happens on the field, but there's so many situations that you have to fall on him because they're putting out, I think it was Justin Hollins, Kingsley Enagbari, and 2 defensive linemen on 3rd and goal from the 2, and that's your run stop set? That is the group of run-stopping players you're going to send out there in that scenario. It's just the scheme is not fitting the scenarios on the field, so that really plays into that. Liam, you got something that's concerning you?
Our offensive line. With the injuries, they have to have a lot of people who have.
It is almost offensive. I mean, it just.
I see what you did
Nice
there.
one, Brody. Gold star.
Even with all of your injuries, you got to find people who are going to be able to step up into the shoes to feel. I know Bakhtiari is one of the best offensive players ever, offensive lineman ever to play the game. But you've got to find somebody who's going to be able to at least take a little bit of pressure off of Jordan Love because they weren't doing it. They might as well have just been second the ball, snap, stand up. That's it. That's all they had. That's all they were doing.
A moment of pain for us now. Bakhtiari, I think the 4th highest paid tackle in the league, and he's riding IR for 3 years in a row.
His career's probably done. Let's be honest.
That sucks.
That's something I've kind of said is we at this point we have to cut him loose because he's taken up a huge part of our cap.
He is
right
a money
now.
issue. Either way you cut it. Trade him, cut him, keep him. He's costing us money. That's just the bottom line. My thing I believe that concerns me so far is the play calling and the rhythm of how Matt LaFleur is calling plays and how little we are relying on the run early in football games, which is not something new. It's something that we've seen for years in a row now. The defense being the way it is has happened years in a row now. And it's sad to say that a defense that was in 2021 against the 49ers in the divisional round or playoff game, we're missing 2 or 3 guys from that team. In that game, they played lockdown football, -3 players, and we look like this. And that's really tough because in that year you had Chris Barnes. You trade him for Quay Walker. That's an upgrade. Another difference, Kevin King. You're telling me a team without Kevin King isn't good? A team with Kevin King should not be good. And then Zadarius Smith was the only other pass rusher on that team because in that game they had Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith all on the field at one time. That's scary. And then obviously he had a falling out with the Packers. Don't understand what his deal is. And you take away also Adrian Amos, but just those 3 players changing from the starting lineup from that year should not be what's making this team bad. And I know I'm kind of dipping into what you said, but oh my God. Some things are frustrating. There's a lot of good potential, and hopefully we can see that heading into next week. Packers versus Raiders. Long week, as you mentioned, Monday night in Vegas, away game, and the Raiders lost to the Chargers this week. Devontae Adams went down with a shoulder injury, came back into that game, and that was a weird one. Khalil Mack had 6 sacks against a rookie quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, out of Purdue. And Khalil Mack's a guy who only had 8 sacks last year and had no sacks throughout this season so far, and then pulls out 6.
He just wanted to get back at his team, his former team.
I suppose, yeah, definitely that's what it is. And this kind of came down to the wire, as I mentioned, but who do you think we see next week? Aiden O'Connell or Jimmy Garoppolo?
I mean, maybe if Garoppolo's ready to go, maybe throw him in, or I'm going to err on the side Aiden O'Connell's going to play because I feel like Garoppolo's going to, nurse his injury and just kind of sit out another week and kind of give the young guy a good start maybe against the Packers defense. So
not the first time we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo sit out a game from an injury. Shout out Patriots when that happened. Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I liked him coming out of college, and I thought he had a great combine, and I think he's got a future in this league. Not, an athletic guy who's going to run around a lot. He's more of a pocket passer, but I think he could dial up, a nice throw here and there. So this is a 1-3 team versus a 2-2 team. Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre started their careers as Packers 2-3. Jordan Love has a chance to start 3-2. Can he do it?
Against the Raiders, I would think so.
I like it.
The Raiders,
I like it.
I feel like the Raiders are a team that the Packers could play a good game against, and if you get all this time off to study the film, get ready, get prepped up, I think it'll be a good shot for a win.
Absolutely, and I think they've got obviously some weapons on offense that are going to be scary, but I don't think their defense is all that great.
Now, for me, here's how I'm going to look at this, right? We have virtually non-existent O-line. It doesn't exist. It might actually just be a figment of all of our imaginations. They have Khalil Mack in this game, just got 6 sacks, right?
Yeah.
What I think is going to happen is I think Jordan Love is going to have the game of his entire career.
Ooh, I like this.
And still lose.
Oh, no!
Man, sounds like Shohei Ohtani.
I think that he is going to go out there and he's going to play amazing football,
so.
and he's going to complete. He's going to have 4 touchdowns, yada, yada, yada. He's going to be an all-around just star quarterback. And I think that our O-line is going to give him 0 help, and he's going to have to fight for every single yard that he gains.
That's so sad. And you've seen that with a lot of quarterbacks' careers. I think Russell Wilson's one of them. Since the start to his career, had a tough O-line in the last 5 years, I'd say. I'm right there with you. I want to see Jordan Love ball out, and I don't know if we're going to see a change to the offensive line. Rasheed Walker's left tackle right now, but Josh Nijman's still there, who the coaching staff has not said great things about recently, and I'm not really sure why, because he's always come in and been a great relief tackle. So
maybe there's something going on.
There might be something going on effort-wise, or maybe he's not showing what he usually has in practice, so we'll see on that end. But Khalil Mack does scare me, as you just mentioned. An offensive line of ours who was good in the past until
the realize Khalil Mack's on the Chargers, so he's not playing against.
Oh my God!
Really?
Oh my God! We just did that, didn't we?
You guys realize that? Well, granted, the Chargers are playing the Packers late in the season.
We just did that.
But,
we were talking about the Chargers game.
We were talking about the Chargers.
We were talking about the Chargers game.
Guys, let's lock back in.
What would we do without Brody?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, let's just pretend the last 5 years didn't happen. Khalil Mack was still on the Raiders.
No, yeah, Khalil Mack's still on the Raiders.
Remember,
I think I meant to say Max Crosby.
Is that what you meant?
Max Crosby's like their one good defensive player.
That's probably what it was.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rescind everything I just said. We were probably going to win that game. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I like that. No, I'm like I said, a very optimistic fan. I got Packers 55-0. Anyway,
So did you notice how we were getting really, really solemn there for a little bit?
Yeah.
Like it was like the whole air went down.
oh,
and
Khalil
it's like,
Mack. Oh,
hey,
no.
And I
By
was
the
just
way-
sitting here thinking, I'm like,
Wait a minute. Wait
guys,
a
why are we talking
second.
about Khalil Mack and the Raiders? He hasn't been on there since
2017?
Well,
I mean,
this will tell you how long I haven't thought about Khalil Mack. I genuinely did not know he was not on the Bears at this point. I just
he hasn't
did
been
not.
relevant since 2018.
Yeah.
Nope,
To
he
be
hasn't.
honest.
He really hasn't.
Keys to victory here, gentlemen. I think you got to channel negative energy into motivation. You don't want to get your you don't know what handed to you again twice on national television, primetime game in front of the entire country. One being on Amazon Prime, now this one on ESPN. Joe Buck. I can't wait to hear
great.
your voice.
Please be just
yeah.
energetic.
Yeah,
Do
Troy
something.
Aikman, Joe Buck will be your crew on that night.
Do they have the Manning cast?
The Manning cast is there, so you could probably watch that instead if you
Rather
did want
probably
to.
watch that more.
But I think they've got to use last week as motivation. Get back to winning. Get back to being a dominant team that we know they can be. And stop with all the mistakes as rookies. You know, that's been killing them recently. And you can't change it really because not a lot of veterans on that offensive side. So, you know, you got to minimize the ways you can. But come motivated, and show out on Monday night.
You know, like I was talking about earlier about the defense being very inconsistent. The defense has got to be reliable in this game. They got to show out against this kind of weak Raiders offense and just ball out and just limit the mistakes. You know, you have 10 days to work on stuff to get ready to play in Las Vegas against the Raiders. You know,
Prison team.
It'll be, you know, it'll be an intense matchup. You know, you got the black hole there. You got, you know, a Packers defense that's struggled a lot this season. If they just kind of change up things and, you know, play a solid defensive game, it'll allow the offense to ball out and should lead to a Packers victory.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Brody. Liam, what do you got?
Well, this is a franchise that has been burned by star players before, so I think we're going to use that as spite and motivation to make Devontae Adams regret ever deciding to leave Green Bay.
Yes, sir.
He goes, but I want to go to the West Coast, and you know, Rodgers is probably near the end of his career. Okay, cool. We would have paid you more than they would have, but you know what? Fine, that's
Yeah,
cool.
go out to the West Coast.
Yeah, go ahead
Please
and leave. Yeah, and so I think we're gonna just make him regret ever doing that.
It's going to be weird seeing Devontae line up against the Packers. And at this point, I feel like I'm used to him being in a different jersey. Last season was its own thing in its own right. You saw the clip of Adams helping Green Bay's doctor, Doc McKenzie. He knocked him over, helped him up, put his hat back on, and then there was a clip of Devontae in Vegas with the Raiders. He pushes a guy over.
The Raiders just kind of does that to people.
Yeah,
though.
the
That's just
Raiders
kind of what the
change it,
Raiders.
man.
Yeah,
So-
that's just kind of what the Raiders are.
Yeah, it's going to be weird to see how he reunites with some of the guys over there. So good luck to the Packers this Monday night, taking on the Raiders in Vegas. Come on, let's get back in the win column. 3-2, go Pack, go. And now, for Brody's favorite part of the show, I'm going to hand it off to the Brewers guru. Talk to me about the Brewers, Brody.
Yay. So the Brewers baseball season just wrapped up on Sunday with a win against the Cubs. Mind you, that the Cubs got eliminated from playoff contention.
Choked.
Even though they won on Saturday against
choked.
the Brewers. Thank goodness for the Marlins playing the Pirates.
I could have caught that ball.
I mean, how do
coulda
you
caught that ball.
drop I mean, granted, yeah, the lights got in his eyes. I totally get that. I've had that before. But for a guy that was highly touted out of, you know, Asia and Japan, to drop a ball like that, you know, to cost I'm not saying that costed the team because they blew a lead.
Yeah,
in
that's true. That's true.
Again, should never let it get to that point where that's what does it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Brewers, you know, they won the NL Central. They solidified their spot as the third team in the postseason, the third seed. And the postseason is starting on Tuesday with the Brewers going up against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who is one team I was very afraid to be facing because they're a young team that are, really tough to play against.
They're hungry for one.
They're hungry to play in this playoffs and go far.
You know what I say to that? Let's knock them out. Let's knock them out of the playoffs.
That's hopefully the plan.
Round one.
Currently, right now, a big injury to the Brewers. Brandon Woodruff went down with, I believe his right shoulder had a problem this week or just recently. It just came out a couple hours ago that his shoulder was injured, so he's out of the wild card series. But even still, we still got 3 solid pitchers.
We're about to see a Wade Miley pitching match.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
sir.
It's going to be probably Burns, Peralta, and Wade Miley pitching in the wild card. So if they win the wild card series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, they head to face against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are the second seed in the NL playoff race. And it'll be a series that I feel like if the Brewers just play well, they could win against the Dodgers. The Dodgers I feel like are a little weak this year. Now that I say that, they'll probably play the Dodgers and get blown out. But I want to err on the side of optimism. They could beat the Dodgers. Looking at the rest of the NL playoff standings, it's Miami going up against Philadelphia, which could be a good series. Miami's, kind of underrated in the playoffs. And in their playoff series alone, in their franchise history, which only dates back to the 90s, they have pretty much won every series in the playoffs. They've only lost, I want to say, a few games in the playoffs because they only went a few times. So look at them, probably could make it far. If they win or Phillies win, they go up against the Braves, who have been lights out this year. Shout out Braves for eliminating Cubs from the NL Central race.
Yes, sir.
So they could be a really good team heading into the World Series race. For the Brewers, I feel like it's just got to come down to offense. They got to play well enough. Limit. They just got to score runs when they get guys on base. That's the biggest thing. I've been to too many games where they put too many guys on bases and then don't score them. It's frustrating, but they gotta figure something out. And 2 of the games are played in Milwaukee, so you got that home crowd for you to hopefully cheer you on and lead you to hopefully a World Series.
Hey, that was me when I went to a game this season, too. Everyone's on base, no runs, scored the entire game. But like you just said, I said it a week ago, we're going to the World Series. We're doing it. I got a friend named Henry who is a fan of the Dodgers. We'll see you in a little bit here and send you home. Hey, thanks for talking about the Brewers, Brody. And Liam, we got one more thing we want to touch on today. Hockey.
Yes. Okay. All right, so we're not talking about the NHL preseason because that would take way too much time.
That'd be a whole other show, ladies and gentlemen.
It would. All right, so Badgers hockey starts this week.
Yes, sir.
Women's hockey actually started last week, Thursday. They won a 2-game series against brand new team, basically Lindenwood. They beat Lindenwood in those 2 games, and the second game they won 16-1, which is not something that should happen ever in any sort of competitive hockey game whatsoever, especially at the Division I level.
Keyword competitive.
Yes. Which this wasn't. The men's team starts this Saturday, the 7th, against also brand new Division I competitor, Augustana. That'll be at the Kohl Center, 7 p.m. start time both nights. Should be really good. Augustana obviously just made that jump to D1, so they had been kind of up on the up and rise. I do think the Pointers did not play them very much, but when they did, I don't think that our record is very good against them whatsoever. So best of luck to them. Badgers, brand new. They've got 12 new players on that squad, the men's hockey squad. Brand new coaching staff. They're all in for their 75th season. So
now, Liam, when do the Pointers start? Do you know?
I do. I actually know this off the top.
I love that answer.
I know this off the top of my head. I don't even need to look it down at the screen. October 31st, Halloween night, 7:30 p.m. start time against St. Norbert College.
Should be a really good game, especially that it's in Point.
Let's go.
So fans definitely show up. I know a lot of fans
in costume. In costume.
Yeah, don't be afraid to come in costume. So
and I do want to point out before we head out today, we have a couple things to look forward to. So one being Monday night, watch out for the live stream if it does happen. We'll keep you posted on Instagram and other outlets as soon as we know for sure or not if it's happening. Packers taking on the Raiders would be fun if you came and hung out with us there. Looking forward to the homecoming game in a few weeks versus River Falls here in Point. SportsPoint will be there streaming the game. Can't wait for that one. And then lastly, I believe one of our shows falls on October 30th. So stay tuned for the special edition Halloween episode of SportsPoint. Just like that hockey game, we're looking forward to it. Good luck to all the campus sports team this week, and good luck to the Packers and other Wisconsin teams. Thanks so much to everyone watching. Thanks to our crew, Keaton, Waala, our tech producer, Aminee, Hoff, our floor manager. Stay tuned for more SportsPoint, and from all of us here, thanking you so much for staying in with us for another episode. We can't wait for the next one. Have a good one. We'll see you later.